I don't believe the Easter Bunny could have kept up with this one.
It was a pretty clean race, really, when you get right down to it.
Till after the race, I think it got a little bit nasty. But if you get right down to it, the pit crew won the race.
Well, that's what wound up winning the race. 22, he just kept plugging away, and he was pretty good right there at last.
But don't you know he was driving hard?
Oh, gosh.
I know how determined
he drives hard anyway.
Yeah.
When he spun and caused the caution, he gained a couple of 3 positions by doing that.
I guess for a short track race, you got to grade it as a pretty good race, Richard.
Well, it was, put it this way, it was interesting. Okay, here we are again.
Where we at?
We're at the museum, man.
In Level Cross.
You can't remember where we at, right?
No, sometime. We was at Richmond last night for, I don't believe the Easter Bunny could have kept up with this one.
No, he got off to a bad start, or a different start, I'll put it that way. Because I guess the first break they had, they probably didn't run, 30 laps?
30 laps.
You know what I mean? The rest of them was under caution or with the tires and all that stuff.
But they had some long runs, and
later on in the race they did. It was a pretty clean race, really, when you get right down to it.
Yeah.
You mean?
Till after the race, I think it got a little bit nasty, but we won't go into that because we don't know all the details. But it was really hard to keep up with because there's racing just about everywhere.
Well, and the deal was that some of them were stopping, getting tires, some of them wasn't getting tires, and some of them stayed out a lot longer than others. And it made it interesting to watch the cars with brand new tires, run a second quicker than the guys that was leading the race.
Looked like they wasn't in the same league when they had different tires.
Different deal.
But the 43, of course, me and you kept up with it more than anybody else, and the 42, of course, but had a decent run, from practice and everything. But he
just started so bad.
Well, they got really lucky one time because some of the cars that they was racing with stopped, and we was on the backstretch. I'm saying we, and they said pit. Then they said the caution's out.
Yeah.
So we caught that, and that separated us from a lot of cars.
Got you a lap ahead of everybody else.
On the cars that we could race with.
One of the best moves of the race, and I don't know that it was intentional, but they were coming up to lap the 8 car, and he runs in the wall, causes a caution. Doesn't lose anything, keeps from getting a lap. So I don't know if that was intentional or not, but it was a good move.
If you get right down to it, I don't know how you judge the last restart or nothing, but if you get right down to it, the pit crew won the race.
Well, that's what wound up winning the race. And I don't like to see a race where the guys has run the whole race, made their pit stop, done their strategy, had it all figured out. They're out there leading the race or running 5th or whatever, and then all of a sudden they have a 2-lap race. I mean, we sat there and watched 398 laps. You mean, and it was just a lost cause, more or less. And then they just mix them all up. But like you say, it wound up that the pit crew got the 11 in front, and the 11 was good. He was.
Wasn't nothing wrong with him winning.
Second, third, fourth place car.
Yeah.
But the deal was that when the chips was down, they got the job done.
But they've had 6 races, 3 Chevrolet winners, 3 Toyotas winners, and Ford hadn't won a race, but they've run second twice, just so close it was unreal.
The 22. He just kept plugging away, and he was pretty good right there at last.
But don't you know he was driving hard?
Oh, gosh.
I know how determined
he drives hard anyway.
Yeah. But I guess
because none of the rest of the Fords run good. You mean they the 17 usually runs good. He didn't. The 12.
Well, he wound up 9.
Wasn't even the race.
The 12's one that was kind of off. If there was a Ford that normally runs good that was off, was the 12 car.
Yeah. The four car run good up there for a while, and then he got messed up. I don't know whether made pit stops or what, but he got behind.
Yeah.
But he ran up there and charged with him for a while.
The lucky dog was the 5 to run third, and he was fading, and Bubba come up and seemed like Bubba spun him, but I don't think it was intentional or anything. I don't know how they graded it,
But
he didn't lose but 2 positions. Then he come in and had a good pit stop and come out and run third.
And in other words, when he spun and caused the caution, he gained a couple of 3 positions by doing that.
Oh yeah, ain't no question about it. And then Bubba, when he pitted, they had a slow pit stop, and he was lost 1 position ahead of. I mean, we was racing him for a position. I'm talking about 43, 13th, of course. And I guess the big loser in there was in that session was 54 car. He went wide on the restart, like you talking about the 2-lap race,
right.
And he got passed for probably 4, 5, 6 positions. I don't know. So I guess for a short track race, you got to grade it as a pretty good race, Richard.
Well, it was, put it this way, it was interesting.
It was.
Okay, and I guess that's what makes it all work is, we watch a race and we remember some things, but you always remember the last of the race, no matter what happens at the beginning of the race. And so that was pretty exciting. It ought to help draw fans from Martinsville this coming week.
Yeah, maybe after the checkered flag, that might sell some tickets too. You know what I mean? Because they'll certainly be together at Martinsville for sure.
Yeah, it'll be a lot closer at Martinsville too.
Yeah, and but I guess NASCAR got to try out their rain tires for a few laps. But NASCAR, I give my hats off to NASCAR for trying to get the pit road drive.
Trying to do something different, yeah.
With them,
that was
with
a good
them
deal.
tires, yeah.
Yes.
Because that pit road, that's a scary thing to start with when they're fighting to get in their box and everything. And then, of course, the first one when they took the rain tires off, the way you come in, they lined them up that way.
Which wasn't bad. Was not a bad decision. You mean?
So if we look at this and predict Martinsville, I wouldn't know what to say. Would you?
I wouldn't either. I do know. We're always talking about somebody dominating, like the 5-car dominated to begin with, okay? But then when he got back in the crowd, he was just another car. And,
he was racing for 4th and 5th.
The 19 come up through the crowd and got to the front, and he was really the dominant car. He, for all practical purposes, he should have won the race.
As you say, the last thing we will remember is the winner.
Yeah, they'll look at this. Where you finished, and that's what counts, right?
Yeah,
not how good you run.
And we'll go to Martinsville, and we'll be talking about it again next Monday. And I hope there's some more drama, and I hope they have a real good race for Clay Campbell, because he works hard for that track.
He works hard getting the guys to put on a good show.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Well, I think he started a little early, from that standpoint. But when you get down and you've done run a race that long, it's hard to make a judgment call. If that had been the first of the race, they could have probably made a judgment call. But under those circumstances, they were just trying to get the race over with.
I really didn't see nothing wrong with the restart, because he is number one, and I didn't. Where was that? We couldn't. I mean, you couldn't see the restart zone or none of that. But he certainly got the green flag and the checker. There ain't no question about that. So, and it's in the history book now. So we'll just have to leave it at that.
Completely different deal. Martinsville is a braking race. It's long straightaways, short corners, use a lot of brakes, and golly, I guess they changed gears. I don't understand all this gear changes, but they change them gears. I'd get tired of changing gears that many times, 500 laps, and change gears 3 or 4 times a lap. But the difference really is the closeness of the track. Martinsville is a real narrow racetrack, where at Richmond it's a little bit broader, so you could use two or three grooves. At Martinsville is 1.5 grooves.
Yeah, Richard, you're talking about shifting gears at Martinsville, but with this transmission, it's about like an automatic transmission.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like you said, but Martinsville probably gets down to 50 mile an hour in the middle of the corner, and of course Richmond never got close to that slow on the corner. So it's just no comparison really. But I hope it's a real good race.
None whatsoever. Okay, Darlington and Richmond is so completely different. It's like running a road course thrown in there. There's no similarities at all that I see in those two tracks.
Well, Darlington, like Richard said, there's no comparison, because at Darlington you'll use that wall up a lot, and the closer you get, the better you run without touching it.